Welcome back to this month's Roundtable, your all-in-one comprehensive view of what's happening across the real estate industry, straight from some of the industry's earliest technology adopters and foremost experts in technology, marketing, brokerage, government policy, capital construction, and cybersecurity. As always, this is a three-part show. Part one, introductions and what's new for each Roundtable host in their business sector. Part two, sector focus, where we unpack the past month's biggest news and paradigm shifts. In part three, what does this all mean for your real estate businesses? And what can you do for the next 30 days to grow said businesses? I'm Andreas, Senie, founder, CRECollaborative, brokerage owner, commercial director at KW. Joining me this month is none other than Saul Klein, Realtor Emeritus, data advocate, Futurist, original real estate internet evangelist, executive editor, Realty Times Inc., and CEO, San Diego MLS. Saul, welcome back here in 2025. Nice to see you as always.
Yeah, likewise, Andreas. Always good to be seen, right?
Absolutely. And not just Saul this month, but Dan Wagner, SVP, Government Relations at the Inland Real Estate Group of Companies. Dan, looking great in the bow tie. I'm going to dress up for next show. As always, nice to see you. And last but not least, Rebecca Carlson, founder and CEO, Carlson Integrated, past president and ICAR Association, brokerage owner herself. All things real estate all the time here at the CRECo.ai Roundtable. I'd like to take a quick moment, if I can, and for Joe Cosenza, who passed recently out of Inland. Joe was an inspiration to all and a true testament to a traditional deal maker and one of the biggest and broadest deal makers across the country. 45 million personally in transactions, even larger. Dan, I'm sure you could say better than I, but Joe was a mountain.
Andreas, thank you for highlighting Joe. Obviously, Joe is an icon in our industry, and I'm just honored to be able to have called him a personal friend. Joe, if there's a Guinness Book of World Records of somebody doing individual commercial real estate deals, Joe would win. He's purchased $55.7 billion of real estate, and that was through 3,915 individual deals. And he's teachers. He started off as a Chicago public school teacher and got involved with real estate, and the rest is history. So it's been 58 years, and I'm wearing a bow tie in his honor today. We just are so grateful to have had Joe for so long, to be a founder and leader of Inland, and thank you for recognizing him. And no one will forget Joe in this industry, especially if anybody that's been to any of his conferences at CCIM or ICSC. He gave a great presentation and always had some colorful jokes. But we love Joe, so thank you.
Yeah, no, the few times we met, he was truly unbelievable. He was a testament to what he did and how he did it. Truly commanded the room.
Well, and one of the things I also want to highlight, so tomorrow we had Joe's wake tonight, today, and then tomorrow is his funeral, and he'll be buried tomorrow. And a week ago on Friday, another icon in the real estate world was laid to rest. So we want to make sure to highlight Mo Vesey. Mo was the president of the National Association of Realtors, and he was president of the Florida Association and Miami Association. And Mo was one of the incredible people who did so much to promote and promulgate our industry. And I know, Saul, I know you knew Mo, and so we just got some good real estate folks who are up in heaven. So, but we still have some left on this earth, and we're going to be talking pretty soon to everybody. But just remember, you keep your family close and your loved ones closer. So there you go.
100%. And it goes without saying, Dan Goodwin, who also passed recently.
Mr. Goodwin was my second dad. He died January 19th, and that was probably one of the hardest things I've had to go through. And then Joe died December 25th. So 2024 was a pretty wild year for the Inland Real Estate Group, but that's where we know that we're all going to end up in, I believe, in heaven someday, and we're meant to be somewhere else other than this earth. So that's the ultimate goal.
Well, in 2024 was a wild ride, not compared to COVID and prior, but it was incredible. A lot happened, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, regulation, litigation, everything in between.
Yes.
So, with that, Saul, over to you in California. What is the latest and greatest going on in your world? Here we are, January 2025. We're on our way to our 100th episode, with 73% of our audience in North America. That's 2,953 listeners monthly. 14% in Europe, 9% in Asia, 1% Africa, 15% in South America, and believe it or not, a few people in Australia. What's going on in California, Saul?
So, we say this all the time, and that is if property's priced right, it sells. And so in where I'm from in San Diego and probably throughout California, the real estate market's still moving. Properties are still selling. People need to buy. People need to sell. Even with interest rates moving just a little bit on the upside and maybe not where we'd like them to go on the downside, property still moves. It just takes a little bit longer. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with it taking a little bit longer for real estate to sell. And we just got spoiled into believing that real estate is a totally liquid asset, and you put it on the market and you should have 25 offers in the first 25 minutes, all 25% over the listed price, with people waiving inspections, and that's just not reality. And so it does take historically a little time for real estate to sell. So a market time of 30, 60, 90 days, not out of the ordinary. We shouldn't expect it to be really anything that's a more healthy market. And so we're seeing stuff is still selling. We're not seeing a lot of price reductions. That means it goes on the market. It's probably fairly close to being priced right. People wait a little bit, it will sell. And so no complaint. It's the big complaint. We've been saying this for a while. Not enough inventory, right? We'd like there to be more inventory, but stuff is still moving. The market's moving. And I still say to people, the best piece of real estate you ever bought is the real estate you bought yesterday.
Well, it's like a boat. The
Okay.
day you buy it, the day you sell it, no.
Yeah, the real estate you bought yesterday, right? And whenever you take it. If you bought it yesterday, you're doing fine. And
I was going to say, I know Inland's still buying, right? And Beckett's still out marketing, and real estate's still moving. It never stopped moving. And I have heard some gossip and some different complaining, criticizing, and blaming. Oh, it's not selling, to your point, Saul. Oh, it's a little less than market, or it's been on so long, but it hasn't. Historically, we've been through ups and downs, some of us more than others. This is a good market overall. True.
Yeah, if you get listings, you've got money in your pocket, right? Because it will sell.
The other big part of our business, though, is obviously being able to have people that have the money to buy. And one of the things that impacts that are interest rates. So this year, it's been great to have the interest rates come down, and everybody's looking at the Fed to see what's going to happen, next, because that's the big, question mark. That's the $64 million question: is what's going to happen under Trump with, what is he going to keep the Fed the same? What's he going to do? And he definitely wants to make sure that we got to keep inflation in check, but he also wants to keep the economy going. So interest rates is what I say.
Well, and I saw some predictions, Dan, on the market, right? So for many years, we would say, well, the number of transactions is like 5 to 6 million transactions a year. And that was pretty consistent for quite a while, which meant, double that for the number of sides, right, in real estate. And it was pretty consistent. And the numbers I saw, projections, which I think they're projections, it's really anybody's guess what's going to happen in 2025. But there's interesting projections to me. Realtor.com projected 4 million transactions. NAR projected 4.9 million transactions. Fannie Mae, Federal National Mortgage Association, the secondary money market primary driver in the secondary money market, predicted 4.5 million transactions. Housing Wire, which for those people that read the real estate press is one of those must-read publications, they predict 4.2 million. So they're all around this, between 4 and 5 million, 4.2 to 4.9 million. Double it for the number of sides if you want to estimate the number of transactions where people will actually make money, or the number of money opportunities for people who list and sell real estate. And then we know some people have a lot of transactions and some people have fewer to none. And kind of interesting, when you look at multiple listing services over the year, it's not been uncommon to have 50% or more of the people that belong to multiple listing services have 0 transactions.
Right.
And that's why when people say to me, oh, the membership's going to fall off. Oh, people are going to get out of the MLS. So I say, well, half of them don't sell anything anyway.
Right.
So I think that a lot of times when people talk to us about the fact that we're going to have this great fall off in MLS participation, it's not based on the facts that a lot of them, in many cases, the majority don't sell anything anyway. And then also keep in mind that, well, we look at the numbers, we'll look at the NAR numbers like in January or February, and there probably will be some drop off. But then what will happen is over the course of the year, people get into real estate. And by the end of the year, we built that number back up to probably pretty close to what it was the previous year. So some people are predicting 25% decline. And for me, I'm more of an optimist. I was around and when we predicted, when there were 750,000 realtors and technology entered the scene. And this was in 1995. And so in 1995, when the Realtors Information Network created Realtor.com, and we saw the technology coming, and we said, geez, 750,000 realtors, we all better get ready for that number to be cut in half. We're going to go, this is what people believe. This was the conventional wisdom at the time. We're going to go to 325,000 members. Well, we all know what happened. It doubled.
Yes.
0.5 million.
Yeah.
So even the best prognosticators are not necessarily on the money when it comes to predicting the number of people that'll come get into the real estate business, stay in the real estate business, earn a living. Real estate's one of the, we used to say it's the last bastion of horse trading. It's still a place where people can go that in a second career or really don't have any career marked out for themselves, where they can actually get into it. They can do well. They can become the master of their own destiny. And that's attractive to a lot of people.
So that is a really good point. Everybody needs to really put more of a microscope on that to understand this wonderful industry has helped bring so many people from underserved areas who might not have had the opportunity to go to college or whatever. It brings them into a very profitable, holistic, wonderful life experience and career, one that they can be super proud of. And it's helped how many single moms, single dads to be able to make ends meet. And people don't ever really pay attention to that, but it is absolutely one of the best things out there for being able to bring people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and what you have is because of the model, the independent contractor model, people can get into the business. It doesn't take a lot of money to get in. A lot of people fall out. There's a lot of attrition. It's not an easy business to earn a living in, but everybody can try, and they do. And so one of the reasons the numbers are high is because you always got people that want to try. And real estate is really the way to generational wealth. So the more, I always told people, the more you know about it, even if you don't stay in the real estate business, the more you know about it, the better you're going to do in building wealth for yourself and for your family. It's valuable information to have. Try it. You might like it. And also real estate sales is really, for me, I always said real estate sales is an entry-level position. And so, well, with real estate, you got to be a real estate salesperson. Well, no, you don't. Once you get into this, you can find there's many different avenues that people can explore where they can actually earn a living in the real estate industry, the broader real estate industry. So don't think that if you can't sell, I used to think this of myself. I'm not a salesman. I can't sell anything. Yeah, but I loved real estate. So I found out that if it's something you really love, it's a matter of being convincing about something you have a passion for. And we all know that real estate is a way for people to build wealth. So we encourage people to do it. We encourage people to get into the business. I think that people think it's the end of the industry because of the litigation. I think they're going to be surprised at the end of the year when they look at the numbers.
What do you think, Becca?
Sorry, I was just going to say the numbers themselves. We did not see the record expulsion of agents we expected, right? everyone was talking about so many agents are going to be done. This litigation, it's the end of us all. We're going to get cut in half. That was the opposite. Because just as in $1 to $6 million transactions, there's more, there's young blood, there's new blood, there's new interest. And everyone on this call had a license. We're all NAR carrying card members. I think, Dan, you are too, right? Yeah, everyone on this call. 3 of which are not out there actively selling real estate. I am still happy to do so. We'll continue to do so. And Becca went into the marketing.
Yeah.
Dan, you're out there at the White House. Saul, outside of the car wash, you're out there growing the industry in every sense of the word. Could you have done that without real estate? Maybe. I don't know. But that's where we are today. And we couldn't have gotten there without it. Becca, over to you on the marketing side. It started in real estate, ended up in marketing. 2025.
I think I started in real estate and in business, not knowing that it was an industry, not knowing that it existed. I took a 3-day temp job and stayed for 14 years at an investment firm. I've had a beautiful real estate career. Every piece of my business has been built on the wonderful relationships and the understanding of the transaction that occurs when you are really kind of raised in a real estate investment environment. And to that end, I would say that when we talk about the numbers of transactions that are occurring, I have my clients that are investors have had a wonderful 2024 and are preparing for an excellent 2025. Everyone's buying and selling. It's taking a little bit longer, but that's to be expected. Longer only in comparison over the past couple of years, certainly not within anybody's experience or the normalized deal cycle. No one's concerned or frustrated or frightened that it's taking the amount of time that it's taking. It feels very normalized for people who have been doing this for more than one cycle. And I was thinking about this a little bit. The commercial real estate brokerage companies that I work with have also been really open in seeking advice and in letting me connect them with my industry contacts from the board side of my work. And as it relates to like the forms and things, they want clarity on what the lawsuit means for them as licensees, even though they're in the commercial space versus the residential space and already typically have great agreements and forms in place. But they're being really proactive about making sure that they have a really good understanding of the compliance issues that have come up based on the lawsuit. So they're very happy to pivot. They're very happy to follow those rules and regulations and compliance. No one's afraid to continue doing brokerage that I've spoken with whatsoever, like not at all.
Well, and Saul, I wish I had queued up sign from early on when you were a broker with the surfboard and everything else down in California, but you started there and leapt to where you are today. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so that's an interesting story for me. Is I got out of the Navy. I was a naval officer, and I always wanted to be a naval officer. And I went to the Naval Academy. I trained to be a naval officer. I served at the tail end of the Vietnam War, and then I had a problem with kidney stones, so they made me get out. And I didn't know what I was going to do because my whole life I wanted to be a naval officer, and my father was a naval officer, and I didn't know what to. But I wanted to stay in San Diego. And the jobs in San Diego, even with the degree that I had, they weren't paying a lot. I guess they figured that if you get to live in this great weather, you don't get to earn a lot of money. And so I looked at real estate. A sailor actually took me out and showed me property, and he showed me this book that had all this great data in it. And I thought, wow, it's amazing to me that you can see all these properties that are for sale. And I was intrigued, and I wanted to do that. And then I thought, the only limitation on my income is me. And in the Navy, we had this thing called the system of inverse rewards. And what that meant was the better the job you did, the more assignment they gave you, but they didn't give you any more money. If you do a better job, then you get to stay and stand the duty on Christmas. Well, if you do a better job, they just give you more things to do. You didn't get any more compensation for it. So I thought, look at this real estate business. If you work hard and you do a lot, you're going to get compensated for what you do. And I love that. And I love the ability then to control and manage my own calendar and to be able to do and go out and look at real estate which I loved because I'd seen my dad do it. So I got into real estate. And then after being in it for about 10 years, I discovered the Board of Realtors. And it was at that time called the San Diego Board of Realtors. And I went to a meeting one day. It was back then they had these luncheons, and it was like the whole membership. And I sat there and I watched the president, and I was with my team of people. I had an office at the time, and I said, I'm going to be president of this organization. And it took me about 4 years to get in and become a director and run for office and become the president. And then when I was the president, I said to my executive officer, Walt Bukowski, who's now the executive officer of the San Francisco Association of Realtors, I'm going to work this because it's going to help my business. And I'm going to do everything I can to reach out and to bring more people in, but it's also going to end up helping my business. And from there, I've met people from all over the country. I got involved with the California Association of Realtors and the National Association of Realtors, and I got on committees, and eventually I even got to chair forums and got to meet the presidents of NAR. I mentioned Mo Visi, and got to did I ever think I would actually someday meet these people that were the presidents of the National Association of Realtors. And then I got the opportunity to meet with the people that created the Realtors Information Network, and that was bringing technology to the industry. And then NAR hired me as a consultant to figure out ways that technology could be utilized because everybody's looking at the technology, but nobody asked brokers, how would you use this technology in your business? And so I was able to look at it and say, gosh, this is the way I'll use it in my business. This is how I'd use it to reduce risk. And then the NAR sent me across the country, and I got to meet more people. And it was just a snowball effect to where I traveled to probably 2/3 of all the local MLSs in the country. I met everybody who ran all the multiple listing services. It changed my career. We went from listing and selling real estate and property management and real estate syndication and financial planning and tax preparation to where I created a technology company, and we were creating technology solutions for realtors. And that led to being a CEO of a big software company. And that led to being bought out by another company and retiring and staying retired for about 10 years. And then that led to the MLS in San Diego calling me up and saying, we'd like you to come back down here for a couple of years and help us with the MLS. So no, it's amazing for me, the opportunities that have been opened up because I decided to participate, because I volunteered at my local association of realtors, and the future it led me into. And I have no complaints.
You're singing from my hymn book, Saul. I absolutely love that. I got to tell you, I was in the political world, and Mr. Goodwin, who loved the political world, got me out of it after I had triplets plus one. I had Irish quadruplets. And my master's is in political science. And he's like, I'm going to retrain you. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, you're going to learn this industry. So I had to get my real estate broker's license, my Series 7 and 63 licenses, which I tell everybody, there's a God when Dan Wagner passed the Series 7 on the first try. My insurance license, I took accounting 101. But one of the things he did is that he believes in the three-way agreement. He believes in the model that exists. And so with NAR. And so I became I got involved with the Northern Illinois Commercial Association of Realtors, then the Chicago Association of Realtors, and I became the president of Chicago. And then I became the treasurer and president-elect of the Illinois Realtors. And at the same time, Tom Salomon made me a commercial liaison, which is, if anybody ever has that opportunity to be a liaison, it's just wonderful. But these different committees and things for NAR have just been so perfect for our industry. And the power of NAR is from, we're one of the largest privately owned commercial real estate companies involved with NAR. And it's so interesting to be part of the industry of securitizing real estate, that the real big kahuna in Washington is the National Association of Realtors. And my boss was so smart to identify that. And he wants to make sure that we actually aren't going to be just riding the coattails of NAR. We want to make sure to be a part of it. And so he was a Hall of Famer for NAR. I'm a Hall of Famer for RPAC. And, donating to RPAC every year by $1,000 plus my $2,000 President's Circle. The RPAC process is just so important for our industry. It's the best investment anybody could ever make. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity. My name's actually etched on the top of the NAR building for my first Hall of Fame is 25,000, and I'm hoping to get a second one to hit 50,000 in a couple of years. So I had to put a plug in for that too.
Well, I tell you, Dan, I hit the $50,000 level a couple of years back, and so I got my name on the plaque. But you know what? It's not such a big deal for me because I've been doing it for so long. So it's not about like $50,000 sounds like a lot of money, yeah. But if you spread that over 40 plus years, right? Everybody can be a $50,000, right? It's just got to be consistent. You got to do it. You got to make the contribution. You got to believe that there's great value that comes from what happens when we unite, what happens when we have strong advocacy in the industry. And, you know, number of years ago, I got my Series 7 and my Series 24 and my Series 63 securities light. And the Series 7 was harder than the real estate exam.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Not even close.
Straddles and hedges and all that kind of stuff, right? And so I got those licenses and I got a life and disability and I became a tax preparer because I believe that, well, here I got this trust and people were coming to me for advice in real estate. They were saying, I want to buy this or should I buy this and should I invest in this? And I'm thinking, I only can sell real estate every 5 to 8 years. I need something that I can sell people every year. And so I became a tax preparer. And at the time, like now, the industry was changing. And I actually believed that the industry would take a turn and become more like the financial planning model. So I had a number of agents. I made them get all the same licenses. But the idea was, because if you remember at the time, Metropolitan Life Insurance Company bought Century 21.
Oh, that's right.
Prudential bought and Merrill Lynch, which was a big brokerage firm, securities brokerage firm. Merrill Lynch got into it. So it looked like all of the financial marketplace was getting into real estate, and we were all worried about that. Then we got worried about banks and real estate. Remember that piece? Yeah. And so I thought, you know, the future, if I'm going to compete against all these big entities, I better pivot. I better be able to sell more than just real estate. I better be the tax preparer. I better be able to put them into IRAs and retirement plans. I ought to be into real estate syndicate. I ought to be able to do all these things. I needed to be multi-licensed to be able to do that. Now, as it turned out, the industry didn't really grow out that way. Right. And those companies divested of their real estate companies over time. But it left me then with the financial planning. I became a certified financial planner. And so now I've got real estate, I'm doing tax returns, I'm selling stocks and bonds and mutual funds, I'm investing people in limited partnerships, public placements, private placements, real estate investment trusts. And it all goes to this conversation about real estate as an industry. It's not just about listing and selling homes. That's a big piece of it, but it's not the only piece of it.
Well, it goes back to network is your net worth, right? I joke with my clients all the time. My job is herding cats, but I know which cats to herd, and I help get them there along the value chain to make those transactions happen.
Well, and it's important that we let people know, because Saul, you should be talking at your universities in California. I go back and I love going to my alma mater, Illinois State, and I speak to the political science classes. And one of the things that blows their mind is I say, you know, I have my master's in political science, but one of the most important things you guys can do is go get your real estate broker's license. And they look at me like I got, you know, 4 heads on, like, what are you talking about? And I try to highlight that this is a real world stuff. I said, you know, I don't sell real estate. Dan Wagner, I have my real estate license since 2004, but I have not sold. Dan Wagner's never sold real estate. What I do is I do referrals. And so if you do referral business, it's a wonderful way to make, for me, it makes an extra $10,000 or $15,000 a year, which is a great family vacation somewhere. And that's how I, you know, usually pay for a family vacation. And the kids in school need to learn that you go to college, and one of the things you have to do is make money. And this is a good thing to be able to proselytize to anybody that you know in college. Go get your real estate license, because you just don't know what you don't know. To be able to just give a referral and you're able to make additional, you know, revenue off that. That's a total another sideline thing that nobody thinks about in college.
It's not just the referrals; it's the basic understanding of home ownership.
Yes.
They don't teach that in college either.
They don't.
A license will,
Right.
let alone a commercial training and so forth. But marketing has to do better on both fronts, and why we need to do both those things in college and otherwise. But Becca's too busy finding great investments for clients. Pivot here, 2025. Here we are, and Dan, I have a question for you in England on this one. San Diego's doing well. The country's doing well. We're in a pro-development administration now. Things are looking up all around. I can't tell you how many announcements I've seen just in the last week for development in Connecticut alone. What's going on the development side, the marketing side, the investment side for you? And then over to inland, because I do want to know if inland's still buying. Times are changing. Then over to San Diego and the rest. Becca.
So that was a very descriptive question. I'm not sure I caught all of the components of it, quite frankly. I'm not actually sure it was actually a question, Andreas. I might.
Question. All above.
The English student in me has some questions about how we would diagram that particular sentence. But it has been very busy from the marketing side. And when you pull in some of that conversation about, and we've talked about it so many times before, and we talked about mentoring and volunteering. Dan and Saul just talked about getting involved. Those are all pinnacle aspects of what we can and should be planning for 2025 that really build our business's success. Getting involved, finding ways to volunteer, finding ways to be mentored or to be a mentor are really important and critical aspects. And not everybody has their entire 2025 plan written down, but hopefully as a company, we finished 2024 very strong. It was our 7th consecutive year of year-over-year growth, which was very exciting. And on the brokerage side, we had a number of transactions close last year that made for just a little bit of drama around the end of the year and checks and wires and that sort of thing. But all of that really to say that positioning yourself, taking a minute to celebrate 2024 and positioning yourself for 2025 is of supreme importance. And to the extent that you can do that in a way that gets you involved and being generous with your time and your resources to things that really, really matter, including RPAC, including active in your local association, if you're in that Realtor world, or in other associations and organizations that are working to make a difference. Those pieces are what can build your success within this year. I love Dan's story about his poli-sci degree, because my degree is in political science also. And I had no idea that commercial real estate was an option. And what we've all discovered is it's not just an option, it's a beautiful career that can be made. And I'm so inspired, Dan. I have to see if I can go back and talk to some of the students.
Absolutely. Where did you go?
My alma mater. I went to Aurora University.
Oh, yeah, you should.
So I would love to go back and talk to the students. And even we have some career days in high school, like in our local high school, which has a great tech campus, where I know that they're with College of Lake County, where I know that they're not talking about real estate, but that's another place that I could go and talk about all of the amazing career options that come into play. And I think that there's a general inquisitiveness among commercial real estate practitioners, because for many of us, this wasn't our first career or our planned path. And that general inquisitiveness is what positioned each of you to pursue those additional licensing opportunities. It's what pushed me into thinking, wow, maybe I could help more than one company. Maybe I could help like a lot of companies, and maybe I could build a team, and maybe I could have a whole team of people that helps people with their marketing. Like, those are the things that general ability to continue learning and to never stop learning is so important. And I do think that the learning that we have changes and evolves along with administration, because the things that impact our learning and impact our business are often political in nature. And I know that there are a lot of changes that are going to be coming along, coming down the pike as we switch administrations. I'm thinking, Dan, probably you have some insight into that.
Yes, thank you. I think that's what Saul wanted me, or Andreas wanted me to go into next. So that was you teed me up perfectly, Becca. Is that good, Andreas? Should I get into that now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I got to do a couple of things. One, to let you know that I am not going to talk Republican. I'm not going to talk Democrat. I'm going to talk the Realtor Party. So so that means we're talking about pragmatic business discussions. We're not talking about elephants and donkeys. Okay, so that's important to acknowledge. One of the things that with the Trump administration coming in, we can't just put our feet up on the table saying, "Oh, there's going to be no issues at all for real estate," because as you recall, the 1031 like-kind exchange was used for personal property and was going to be taken away for real property under Trump when they did the extension of when did the 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Act. So if you remember, the Republicans actually were looking at getting rid of the 1031 because they wanted to do 100% expensing for real estate. We were able to change that with the coalition of NAR, and the list goes on. But we were able to keep it for real property, but the 1031 is done for personal property then. So we have what's going to happen now is that as of January 1st of 2026. If there's not an extension to the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, then all of a sudden we go back 10 years and we go back to how everything was. So that's going to be the big question right now in Washington is that which things can they do first? Because as you recall, everything is so close in regards to the House is at the most razor thin margin for Republicans since World War I. And everything's very close in the Senate. And so to pass anything of substance in the Senate, you have to have 60 votes. It's called the filibuster rule. And since they don't have 60 votes for the Republicans, they have 53, there's no way you're going to get to 60. So they do a thing called reconciliation, which means that you can go out in a 10-year process and you can pass the laws related to the budget and reconcile the budget, and it goes out 10 years. So there's some significant issues because with the January 1st of 2026 deadline coming, and it's important for us to realize it. A real important issue is the 199A tax deduction, which is pass through, because 99% of small businesses use that, and it's a really, really big deal. And if they don't pass this reconciliation by then, that goes away. And that's going to cause businesses to have to come up with a lot of money. Now, the big question is that the House Ways and Means Committee is where all tax law comes from first. So Jason Smith, who's from Missouri, is the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee. And he wants to remind everybody that it's better to possibly do reconciliation for tax so we can get that done before anything else. Well, the Senate now is going to be run by Senator Thune. So Senator Thune disagrees with Jason Smith, even though they're both Republican. He believes that they should do one of the big Trump issues is immigration. So there's like this non-tax reconciliation that they would like to do, where they would be able to deal with some policy area issues that future President Trump has been promoting. So internally, the Republicans are trying to figure out what should they do. The Jason Smith is saying because there's such a close majority in the House, what maybe they could do is combine everything and have this big omnibus reconciliation. And so that's being discussed right now. The whole thing of Washington, though, and this is interesting, I just got this number a little bit ago. Since the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, there's 86 new Republicans that are in Washington that haven't gone through. They weren't a part of those discussions. And there are only 5 members out of 40 three members that were on the House Ways and Means Committee when that extension of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act happened. So when people are looking at, if you're like, for example, there's some Republicans that want to get reelected in New York, in California, those Democrats states, some Republicans are, they're saying, hey, we need to deal with SALT. The SALT deduction is really a big issue for those people in Congress if you're in a real blue state. And if you're Republican, you want to, obviously everybody wants to get reelected. So the big question is that Republicans don't want to raise taxes. So if they don't want to raise taxes and they want to be able to increase the SALT deduction from 10,000 to 20,000, well, how do you do that? Well, then they start looking at pay-fors. Well, if you start looking at pay-fors, the staff members, and there's no staff members that are still around from the last Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, not one, because most elected officials get their information from their staff. So if the staff aren't aware of the importance of the 1031 and how important that is to our economy, then we're back to square one where we're having to defend the 1031 to say why it shouldn't be used as a pay for. And that's one of the things that our coalition is continuing to do. So it's important for people to realize that our 1031 coalition does not put our feet up on the desk with smoking a cigar right now, because we understand this is a really important thing to understand, is the nuances of who's in Washington and who's running it. So Jason Smith, the House Ways and Means Committee, have been hosting a variety of meetings for the staff in Washington and for the members the new members, to explain the kind of a 101 of tax, because it's very complicated, as you can imagine. So we're very excited to be able to have Jason Smith as the chair of that committee, because he gets it, that he understands if they do a reconciliation that doesn't include tax, and they just do something dealing just with immigration or whatever, and we get down to the very last moment to be able to pass the tax law or the tax reconciliation, and it doesn't pass, there's huge consequences. I mean, just unimaginable consequences. That it's a big deal. So I really wanted to highlight that as a big deal. And then related to 1031, for our commercial real estate folks, opportunity zones are a really big deal. And so the question is, are we going to be able to go back to the beginning of opportunity zones, or they just extend it, and then we can go back? As you recall, the opportunity zones are pretty complicated, but if you can be able to sell your stock portfolio and use those capital gains for an investment in opportunity zone that's out there, then that's a wonderful thing. And that's been a wonderful thing all around the country, where billions of dollars has been raised for underserved areas. And that's a big issue for commercial folks to be able to help make the world a better place. It's been it's a really good economic development tool. In my opinion, the best thing for real estate capital gains taxes, the best way to deal with real estate capital gains taxes is still the 1031. I don't personally believe that the opportunity zones are the best for dealing with real estate. I think they're perfect for all other capital gains issues. But those are some of the big things that are out there. And in regards to Inland, you wanted to know, is Inland still buying? I mean, obviously with Joe Cosenza's passing, we're very sad. But of course, we still have Mark Cosenza, his son. We have Matt Tice, some really incredible leaders in our acquisitions division that are going to be they're going to be running the show, and we are out there buying all the time. So yes, we are absolutely buying. Inland, I can't, because of my securities license, my compliance department would kill me if I went into all of our specific deals that Inland has available right now. I'm legally not able to do that because there could be non-accredited investors that are listening to us right now, and I would be breaking the law by going into in depth of what things Inland's buying for what product that we're selling. So, but I can tell you that yes, Inland is absolutely buying. We are in self-storage in a big way. We purchased Devon. It's a self-storage company where we're managing self-storage. But we love buying student housing. We love senior housing. apartments. That's our thing. We're not into the office per se. It's still at this moment. That's obviously a very interesting place, but we are looking at possibly retrofitting things, as everyone is. It's very expensive to retrofit a big office building for apartments or condos because of the plumbing issues related to it. But those are big issues for us, and we're looking at self-storage through old Kmart buildings, so we're repurposing stuff. We're doing opportunity zones. And obviously, one of the big parts of inland is the Delaware Statutory Trust 1031 like-kind exchange. And we have an incredible, I can let you know, our track record is absolutely one of the best in the industry. We started the industry, and we're out there working hard. So I've been taking all of the time the last 15 minutes. So I will stop talking. But
Dan, you juxtaposed 1031 and SALT. Could you define SALT for everybody? Because a lot of people probably aren't familiar with that.
Oh, that's a really good point. That's the what you're able to do for the deduction of your taxes, your state, your tax bill. How you can do mortgage interest deduction is it's $10,000. It's capped at $10,000. So I forgot. So thank you for bringing that up. A lot of people don't know what that is, but that is a big deal for. Especially in blue states, that's a huge deal because of the tax burden that people have. In Illinois, our taxes are way beyond, I'll tell you, for our house is way beyond $10,000 for my taxes. And that's the same way in New York and California. And so those are really big issues. Saul, I would imagine you pay more than $10,000 in your property taxes.
No, you don't even want to know. No, so on the other side. So I got my real estate license about the time that Prop 13 was passed. And so I was a great advocate for Prop 13. So what was happening, and it's happening today, is people were being priced out of their homes. And they couldn't afford the taxes on their homes because the taxes were based on the value of the homes, and the values were going up like crazy. And so people were being forced to sell their homes. And so there was a tax revolt in California. And this tax revolt was amazingly successful. It's something like 77% of the voters voted in favor of Proposition 13, which limited your property taxes to 1% of the value of the home in like 1981 or something, right?
1978.
So, yeah, 1%. Now, my wife and I live in the same house that she purchased in 1967, and so it was for $19,000. And so now we've made improvements over the years, and so our taxes have gone up, but we're still under Proposition 13.
Wow!
Wow! We're paying for our home maybe in the neighborhood of $1,000 a year. Property taxes.
Oh my God!
Proposition 13, but our neighbors are paying $10,000, $15,000 a year on their properties because they paid a lot more money. But we never moved, and we're senior citizens, and we're not about to move. And
no.
So, but that's just kind of an oddity. And so, but it's a great point, I think, for me, and I think for everybody, and that is that the government spends more money than it makes. And when the government spends more money than it makes, it has to go after the big baskets of money. And the big baskets of money revolve around real estate. So if you don't think the government's coming for you, if you own real estate, you better think again, because they're coming for you, because that's where the big dollars are.
Absolutely.
Right. And so we're going to continue to get taxed, and taxes are going to go up. They're already fighting there. They have been for years. They want to undo Prop 13. Why? Because it's where big dollars are. And they want to release the big dollars so the government can spend it. And I believe that I can spend the money better than the government can spend the money. And it's one of the reasons I'm such an advocate for the National Association of Realtors and legislative advocacy for private property rights.
Amen.
Nobody looks out for private property rights like the National Association of Realtors. And so this is one of my favorite lines. Under all is the land.
Yep.
Under all is the land. Upon its wise utilization and widely allocated ownership depend the survival and growth of free institutions and of our civilization. That the good things we have in this country are based in large part on the ability for people to own real estate. It helps you build wealth. It's the greatest tool for building wealth. We don't teach people enough about it. We don't teach people what realtors really stand for. And what we stand for is under all is the land. We stand for private property rights. We know that private property rights lead to a free society, lead to opportunity for everybody. Now, with that comes certain obligations, that we treat the land properly, that we have healthful environments. If you haven't read the preamble to the Code of Ethics of the National Association of Realtors lately, let's start out 2025 by reading the
I
preamble.
love you, Saul. I love that. Oh my God, I want to give you a hug. That was this. You got to like promote this portion of it everywhere. This is great. That was
He
wonderful.
did. He crossed the country promoting this, and then hat tip to Inland here with the DST, because without the 1031 exchange, where would we be? We'd be stuck with property we can't improve, we can't trade, and we would keep people unemployed. It all rolls back into the same cycle.
Well, and what's the other parts that are really cool about what Saul said is that you have all these other aspects of what we do, where we have people that are becoming just so professional in our industry. So you have, you want to become a Green Beret of commercial real estate, go to CCIM, get your CCIM, and that will be incredible. You want to understand how to sell land. Oh my God, the Realtors Land Institute. I'm a member of the Realtors Land Institute, and they are just rock stars. The knowledge that those people have of the industry is incredible. You want to get to understanding how you manage commercial real estate, IREM. You want to get to understanding how to manage office, SIOR. I mean, so much aspects of learning and knowing and knowledge is a big deal. But the key of all the real estate stuff is what Saul said. Under all is the land, and everything is about private property rights. That is the American pie, flag, fireworks. Everything what this country is about is private property rights. And for people to think that the government leaders aren't looking to take away those rights, oh my gosh, you're in California. Saw how many people that own a mom and pop apartment building now can they control who they rent to? Can they control if they can kick somebody out? Can they? Sometimes there's all of a sudden a moratorium that they can't charge extra for rent. They try to do rent control. I mean, all these things. You have the realtor associations at the local, state, national level that are the only ones that are standing in the breach. Only ones standing in the breach to be able to fight for us, and that's so important. I could go through and explain how Inland has been benefited from our local, the NASBAR Association, North Shore Barrington Association in Illinois, where they saved us with a town that wanted to get $1 million. There was a town that wanted to try to get $1 million for rose bushes because the mayor likes rose bushes. And before we could sell our building, we had to come up with $1 million for rose bushes. And that local association staff contacted the recorder of deeds of Cook County and told them what this mayor was trying to do. And the recorder of deeds was able to call the mayor and say that's illegal. And so our sale was able to go through finally. But that wouldn't have happened if we didn't have that wonderful local, and then state and the national organization staff. I mean, our staff level people are phenomenal, and I'm so proud to know our staff at the local, state, national level. They have done so much for us, and the realtors are paying really high level salaries to get people with their law degrees, with MBAs. I mean, we have some really high notch people. And Saul's in the technology. Technology is everything for realtors too. So we could go on and on, but I love this show today. This has been great.
Well, so we're already at the top of the hour, 5 minutes running by. A lot of experience on the show, a lot of different points of view, aspects, geography. What is the one lesson, the one takeaway, the one take back in your careers? What would you change? What would stay the same? Where would you guide the next generation over in the next month and in their career? Around the room, let's go for it. Obviously, 1031s are of great importance. But Saul, to you first. Done everything from property management to insurance and a bunch of other things I did not know you did as a realtor. And the car wash. What is your guiding words to those getting into the industry and those looking to stay strong in 2025?
Yeah, so I hate to say that I don't have any regrets, because everybody has regrets, and I got a lot of individual deals that probably were regrets. And my biggest regret is I didn't hold on to more property that I bought. Right? As I wish I had bought more. And what I would say to people who even think that they want to learn more about real estate, I would say you're on the right track. Use 2025 as a year to learn more about what the real estate industry has to offer. Read the preamble. You can Google it. The preamble to the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics. And it will tell you exactly what we're all about as realtors and what's important to us. And it's all about private property rights. And when I hear people say, I don't want to belong to the National Association of Realtors, I want to separate from then what they're saying to me is they don't really understand all of the benefits that come to them. And there's no other profession where such a small amount of money can bring you such a huge return. So learn about the local association, the state association, the national association, what it can bring to you as a property owner. And you might even be interested in looking at real estate as a career, either full-time, and I will say it, a lot of people won't, even part-time, because there's things you can do to be involved in this. It doesn't have to be something, we say real estate's a part-time job. We just decide which 12 hours of the day we work. So learn everything you can about this industry, about the benefits of private property rights, about being informed about the fact that there are people out there that would take away your private property rights and tell you what you can and can't do. And the greatest tool that you have to build wealth for yourself and for your for your posterity, and that's owning real estate.
And you wouldn't have let go of it. Don't let go of any real estate. Hold it forever.
I wish I hadn't sold the ones I sold. Now, the one behind me, the car wash, we bought it in 1979. We still own it. It's a great piece of property. My wife bought our house, I told you, in 1967. We still own it. The best real estate you ever bought is the real estate you bought yesterday.
Or 20 years ago. Longer
Even
than that. All right. Becca, on your side of the fence, having worked both brokerage, marketing, and a past president of NICAR and the association level as well.
So my takeaway from this is to embrace involvement. Like, embrace getting involved, get knowledgeable, learn more, follow the lead of the people before you and around you, build up that network of peers for peer learning and for growth, and never stop learning, never stop embracing curiosity.
So when you become the smartest person in the room, you should leave them.
Yeah, find a different room.
Yeah, find a different room. But I love meeting with you guys. I'm always surrounded by smarter people. It's always a pleasure. Dan, over to you.
Well, for me, it's ditto what these Becca and Saul have highlighted. It's so important, though, to be involved in your local, state, national organizations, and to understand that politics is not a dirty word. You've got to be engaged and understand what the people that you are voting for, who they are, and how they will impact not only real estate, but how they'll impact our whole local, state, national level at all levels. Because we are one election away from not having incredible private property rights. We have to work hard to keep our nation as great as it is, and we all, we love this place. And I don't know of a more patriotic organization than the National Association of Realtors. It is Democrats, Republicans, most bipartisan organization, and we all come together and lock arms with private property rights is a big deal. In regards to a regret, I don't have any regrets. I wish I would have met Dan Goodwin sooner, so I could go, go to work with him and be with him longer. Just again, a hat tip to the memory of Joe Cosenza. I know he's in heaven with Mr. Goodwin, working deals for God, doing real estate. So
Carving up heaven for the rest of us when we get there. 100%. The echoing all of you, right? You can't have regrets without being where you are today. And I could not be in a happier place beside you here, and those that couldn't make it, Chris, Darren, Anna Maria, it has been such a great ride. And it's going to be an even greater ride here in 2025. The AI buzz is subsiding in some cases, some not. But at the end of the day, what we hear every month is an ongoing theme. Is very simple. Stay true to tried and true business practices, traditional deal making, networking, education, mentorship. That is the way you grow and build your business. That's what I hear every day from every one of you and everyone else I do business with. And it will continue that way. I want to thank our audience for always tuning in. I want to thank our show producer, Mr. Mendoza, for making us all look great, regardless of where we are and how we tune in. And I want to thank each of my co-hosts. It's been an incredible journey together. 100 episodes, December 2025 this year. 4,000 downloads in probably a month from now, hopefully, and a global audience. So thank you all. See you next month. Thank you for tuning in.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Roundtable, powered by CRECo.ai, your source for the latest in real estate and technology. For past episodes, sector interviews, and more great content, follow us on all social media and YouTube at CRECollaborative. You can also find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Please like, subscribe, and share. It really does help. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next Real Estate Roundtable.